Hi, my name is Eric Ryan, owner of Classic of Texoma Auto Group.
And my name is Larry McCarthy, pre-owned manager here at Classic.
Today I want to talk about trade-in values, how we determine what a vehicle is worth, and then how a vehicle is going to be priced in the pre-owned market. So Larry, why don't you explain what thoughts go through your mind when you're appraising a vehicle to determine the value?
There's a lot of different factors. Obviously, we use the internet, the computer systems to help us guide us with book values. We look at the overall condition of the vehicle, how it's treated, what possible repairs need to be done to the vehicle, and where the market is on that particular vehicle. With lack of trade-ins now, we're forced to buy more vehicles at the auction. So when we do get a trade-in, we want to try to keep that as a retail piece for here on the lot. So we want to try to make certain that we look at every aspect of the trade to ensure that we can keep the vehicle rather than have to wholesale it.
Now, when you have to buy vehicles at auction, that's quite a bit more expensive, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Well, it's not just it's not that you're bidding against so many other people to get the vehicle at auction, but you're also having to pay auction fees, transportation fees to get the vehicle to the dealership, which is why that potential trade-in is the most valuable resource you have to fill your used car inventory.
Absolutely. Where, say, one of our captive products, a Nissan or a Honda or a Toyota that we have here new on the lot, that we could trade for from a previous customer when they do a trade-in here at the dealership. If we have to go to the auction to buy that vehicle, there's always unforeseen problems. There's only so much that we can see in a flash setting when the vehicle goes through an auction lane.
Sure.
Whereas here we have an opportunity to look a little bit closer at the vehicle. So on top of all the fees that you mentioned, the auction fees, the transport fees, there are always going to be repair costs towards the end of the.
And that price could be $300 or $3,000.
Yes.
Which is what makes trade-ins so valuable, certainly.
Absolutely.
You know, I had it described to me early in my career when I was being taught how to evaluate a trade-in vehicle, is that it's almost like a stockbroker. You're looking at every vehicle, determining two various paths that vehicle could follow. Number one is, what kind of condition is it in? Is it something I can repair reasonably to where I would feel confident to sell that to one of my customers? Or has this vehicle maybe experienced a tremendous amount of use and it's going to take way too much to repair, so I'm going to just send that vehicle to auction? And those two factors help me determine what a vehicle is truly worth. I mean, generally speaking, if you go one dealer to the next, there shouldn't really be a whole lot of fluctuation in the value for that vehicle.
There shouldn't.
But often there is. You know, sometimes somebody gets way too excited about a vehicle because they did so great selling that one last time, so they may, you know, stub their toe, if you will, and put way too much money in the vehicle, or the other way around. They get really excited about it. They put, excuse me, not way too excited about it, but they're scared of it because last time they had one just like that, set in inventory forever, and they lost a bunch of money. Yes. So you're really constantly evaluating the ebbs and flows of the market, but overall, you want to be aggressive when it's a trade-in, because you know if you go get that exact same vehicle at auction, it's going to cost you a whole lot more.
Certainly.
And you know, I think that's one of the areas where customers have the most question. You know, something that I know I as a dealer and we as an organization look to try to educate all of our customers, because dealers will often play games with different numbers. You know, they may look like they're giving you a great deal on the one you're buying, but not really giving you what you should get for your trade, or vice versa. You know, at Classic, we try to keep it as transparent as possible, which is why it's so important to have experts like yourself that can help educate customers. Now, once you take that vehicle in on trade and you've determined that value, I assume you roll into that with a pretty good idea of what it's going to cost to do the repair, of course, and basing that on how you know you're going to price the vehicle and where you think it's going to sell. Can you tell me a little bit more about merchandising and how you price the vehicle when it?
Sure. I'm glad you mentioned the trade value as far as how we price our vehicles. With an appraisal, like I was saying earlier, if we are human. If we miss things in a vehicle that go into the cost of a vehicle, it typically does not affect the way we price our vehicles, because we do try to price everything based on market value, not necessarily retail value. Now, what that means to the consumer is when you're shopping, say, a Honda Accord, and same year, same make, same model, basically the same miles, same condition, we try to price those vehicles within our primary marketing area based on what those vehicles are selling for in that area. So it's very rare that you would see us price a vehicle anywhere near what we would call a retail book number, when we know, based on the software that we utilize here at the dealership, that vehicle would not sell at that price. So it does us no good to start so high when everyone else is at a median number or even lower. What I was referring to as far as the cost of the vehicle, it doesn't always dictate how we price that. So if we had two of the same cars, one was bought at auction, one was traded for here at the dealership, one needed tires, one didn't, there obviously is a price discrepancy. That would not affect how we price those two vehicles. In theory, of the software we use, we would price those two vehicles exactly the same, even though one cost us more to put on the lot.
I'm glad you brought that up, actually. Essentially stating that both vehicles are going to be priced competitively, no matter how much they cost.
Correct.
Which is great, because that means the customer is going to end up getting the best value, regardless of whatever the investment was to get that vehicle out on the front line. And that's something that I find very fascinating about the pre-owned part of this business. You know, I was a pre-owned manager myself 20 years ago, and it was a completely different thing back then. We relied on guides to kind of help us understand what the value of a vehicle might be worth, but those guides were mailed to us monthly or weekly in some cases. You know, the ebbs and flows of pre-owned market change in hours, not a week, not a month. So it was a constant guessing game, like that of a stockbroker, trying to identify trends to help determine what that's going to be. But now today, it goes so far beyond that. In addition to having these fundamental guides like NADA or Blue Book or Black Book or whatever guide you're utilizing, the guide itself doesn't really determine the value of a vehicle. It's a tool that's available to help you understand it. But today, there are softwares and technologies that make it so much more granular. You know, I know that the pricing tool you use, the appraisal tool, actually checks every dealership website within whatever radius you choose and tells you what everybody in the market is pricing that car at. It also tells you what like vehicles are being sold for at auction within that same 500-mile radius. So you can really dial in and determine exactly what a vehicle should be worth, barring any surprises in reconditioning or mechanical repairs or body work that need to be done. And you know, I'm just amazed how technology has helps make a talented manager like yourself much more precise, and gives you the ability to ensure that we're always competitive for our customers. Because you know, if everybody else in town is selling that vehicle for $15,000, and you know that in my business model I want to be very competitive, you know everybody's at 15, so you can price it more aggressively.
Absolutely.
That obviously creates slimmer margins for the business as a whole, but you know, my entire business model is built around slim margins and just taking great care of customers so they keep coming back.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you taking the time to help us educate customers on that subject, and I appreciate all the hard work you do.
Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you for joining us today. If there's ever a subject you'd like us to review, please list it in the comments.